Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we'll be doing the strawberry makeup look, and this is a trend that has been going viral on TikTok, so let's just jump right into it. So first I'm starting off with some concealer. This is the Maybelline Camo Concealer. It's just a little palette that I'm using to conceal a blemish that I have here on my cheek. So first I just put it on with a little brush, and then I'm gonna just blend it out with a sponge, and I just blend out the edges more than where the actual blemish is. That way I don't take too much product off the blemish and the blemish stays covered. Here I'm going in with my e.l.f. Putty Blush. This one I'm going in with first. I'm going to be using two. This is a lighter pink shade. I will be listing all the products and the names in the description below, so don't forget to check it out if you're curious about the products I use and the names. Now I'm just going to keep on blending this blush in a little more until I go build up the next shade, which is a beautiful reddish tone blush, which is also another putty blush by e.l.f. Again, I'm not sure what that shade is, but it's really beautiful. I think it's Caribbean. I'm not positive, but like I said before, I will have it linked in the description below. So here I'm just putting some of that blush, still putting some of that pink, light pink blush on my nose, because I want this to give me a sunburn effect for this trend. I think it looks gorgeous, especially when you put the freckles over it. So here is the next putty blush I'll be going into, this reddish tone. And this is another, this is the original putty blush. This is not the what do they call it? I'm not even sure. The Luminous, I'm sorry. The Luminous Putty Blush. It's not the Luminous, it's the original formula. So make sure, I'll have links to everything below, so that's fine. And so now after I finish blending in this second blush, I'm going to go in with this Too Faced concealer. I'm not sure of the shade, but I'm going in with this concealer. Now you'll notice that when I use this to contour on one side, which is the side you see, my right side, I will be blending it. I put a little too much on that side, so it gets really muddy really quickly. So you'll see me correct it in a little bit. But for right now, it's going to look really muddy really fast. So just bear with me while I blend this out and then continue with the other side. Now the other side does blend in a lot quicker and a lot better. So just be careful with the amount you're putting on. But I'm going to show you what you can do if it happens to you. Like if you're applying bronzer after your blush, which I usually apply my bronzer first. I just thought I'd try a different technique because this is the technique I used the first time I did this look. And everyone seemed to love it, so I thought I'd recreate it. Now that side, no. As you can see, the other side, yes. So I'm going to show you how I correct it right now. So I go back in with that reddish blush. And then I'm just going to just pat around where it looks really muddy. Just like so. Now, don't be afraid if you put too much on, especially when you're trying to cover the bronzer like I am. You can just blend it out with the sponge later on, and it'll take a lot of the product off if you accidentally put on too much. And then on this side, I was just putting a little more blush also. Now I'm going in with the Maybelline Makeup Eraser, and I forget what shade. I think this is medium, but I'm not too sure. It could be the lighter shade. But I'm going in with this to clean up that contour. I also put a little bit on the sides of my nose. I didn't show that part, but I do have some on the sides of my nose, and then I'm going in under my eyes here to cover up the dark circles. And for this look, you can see I use absolutely no foundation whatsoever. I wanted to make it look as natural as possible. I do go in with powder, but then I go in with a setting spray afterwards, as you're going to see, so it calms down that, powdery look. So it does all come together in the end. So yeah, I'm just blending it downwards so none of the concealer goes up into the bronzer or the blush. And then after I'm finished blending all of the concealer out here under the contour, I'll blend that in with a sponge. But before that, I'm going to finish blending out the concealer under my eyes and on the sides of my nose. And make sure when you are putting concealer for this look so everything looks cohesive, you want to add the concealer on your eyelids as well. You could also add some of that blush to your eyelids. I did not, because I added a little pop of green to my version, which will be in a few minutes. You'll see that. So yeah, now I'm just blending it out with the sponge. And it comes together a lot nicer. Some of the blush obviously will go away after you put your concealer on, so it won't look so clownish, I guess, if you want to put it in those terms. But you know what I'm trying to say. If you don't want to overdo it with the blush, or if you don't like too much blush, you can put concealer on after. That's what I do, because I tend to overdo it with the blush, but then I tend to go back in with a little more blush afterwards sometimes. But then I will go in with the powder blush. So here I'm going back in with that concealer, using it again to contour, and I'm just doing the forehead here and the sides and my chin. So I'm contouring these areas. I love this concealer to contour because the way it sets so beautifully onto the skin. It doesn't leave me oily or anything. I just make sure I set it afterwards. And I don't always have to use, what I love about this is I don't always have to use a bronzer, a powder bronzer on top, or a powder contour, because it's so pigmented and it shows up so beautifully that even when I put powder over it, it doesn't like wash the shade out at all like it usually does with my blushes and bronzers. So here I'm going in with the Maybelline Fit Me powder, and I believe this one's in medium beige, I'm not positive. And I'm just putting this under my eyes and mostly on the places that I concealed. And then I'm going to go in on the rest of the face with a different setting powder. So here is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus setting powder, and I have this one in the shade Translucent, and this one I'll be using all over the face because even though I don't have foundation on, and I mean obviously I want to set everything because I have combination oily skin, so I just want to make sure not too much of my oils peek throughout the day. And for this look also, I did not use any highlighter. I did not see any highlighters being used in this look unless I missed it. So I did not use one in this look at all. So now after I'm done with this powder, I'm going to go in with this Maybelline Tattoo Brow Gel. And this stuff does not budge at all. Now I'm using this really thin eyeliner brush, and I'm going to put on some faux freckles. And now keep in mind, if you're putting on faux freckles for everyday real life, you don't need to put them like too large or too dark or anything like that. But if you're doing it for film or for photography, you want to make them a little bigger and a little more pigmented so they show up on camera. Now for me, obviously right here they're pretty dark, but what I'm going to do is I'll show you how I blend them in a moment. Over here I'm just still adding a little more freckles. Now I already have some, so I make sure, well, that's the main reason I did not wear any foundation, so mine would peek through. Now here I'm blending them in with a sponge so they're not so dark, and they look a lot more natural once they're blended in. Now I'm going in with this Revlon blush, and I believe this shade is Mauvelicious. Yes. And I'm just adding this, and this to me is the star of the show. This and the freckles. This blush shade is beautiful. It is the most beautiful pink shade ever. It's not like too bubblegum, it's not too bright, it's not too pale. It's just, to me, the perfect pink shade like blush ever. Now this blush is very chalky, it's powdery, but it is so pretty and it looks great on the skin. Here I'm going in with my NARS Laguna bronzer, and I'm just using that to powder contour right here. I don't go over my forehead or anything, but I do go over my chin contour and my cheekbones. And for this video, I did not do a nose contour at all. Then after this, I'll be going in with my setting spray. This is the e.l.f. Micro Mist Setting Spray. I love this stuff. It is so bulletproof. It keeps your makeup on, period. And now that it's nice and drenched, I'm just blending in those freckles one more time, and then I'll blend in the powder with this setting spray to mesh everything together so it looks more like skin. And I went off camera and put on that LA Colors Green Shockwave eyeliner. Also the Telescopic Lift mascara went off camera to put on. Then I went back into this red tone blush, this Putty Blush by e.l.f., and I used it on my lips. This is the same blush I used on my face, the second one. And I went and put it onto my lips, and I thought it looked so pretty. It was like my lips but better. It gave me a nice little rosy pigment and I love it. Okay, so that is it for today's look. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.